Welcome back to City of Heroes. Sort of. We're going to continue reading Quag. I need to get rid of the. Let's blank out the issue number here. There's no issue number here. Alright, cool. I'm going to continue reading Quag. Keep out of here. This is continuing chapter 4. Move. Oh my god, this court. 5 pieces, Milo returned. You've just talked yourself. Oh, wow, I can't. I'm facing away from my microphone. Excuse me. I had to punish my cord because it's being a pain in the ass. Stupid microphone cord. Alright, let's put this up in my face. 5 pieces, Milo returned. You've just talked yourself into other ill, though. Thought with that warning, trader, the nomads may have already taken sword oath for the trail. Keep these, and they could be willing to hunt the new riders down to meet there as maidens. Not even sword oaths are going to bring them to Greyhawk, warrior, and I don't propose to ride west again, neither. But you've a tongue on you, that's true. Say 8 pieces, and I am out of purse in this bargain. In the end, Milo got the mounts for 6. He had a suspicion that he could have beaten that price lower, but the uneasiness that was growing in him until all he could do to not look over one shoulder or the other for that watcher of watchers weakened his resolve to prolong the bargaining. He also bought 5 pack ponies, those Ingrid methodically selected, counting upon the elf's skill to control the wilder mountain-born stock. Nails of Frita returned to sit on his shoulder, crouching there, alert, her bright beads of eyes missing nothing. Ingrid had indicated his choices, and Milo was counting out a measure of strange coins to equal the price of their purchases, when the elf's head swung left. His large green eyes set aslant in his narrow face, opened wide, his nostrils flared. There had been other men, among them a dwarf and a cloaked figure, whose species was well concealed by his body covering, drifting or walking with purpose through the animal lines. Neither Ingrid nor Nail had shown any interest in these. Now a man approached them directly, and it was plain he was seeking them in particular. His clothing was made of supple leather, not unlike those worn by the elf. However, it was not dyed green or dull gray-brown, such as became a ranger. Rather, it was shiny, glossy black, from the high boots on his feet to a tunic which had a flaring collar standing up so high about the back of his head as to form a dark frame for his weather-brown face. Over those garments he wore a single splash of vivid color, a sleeveless thigh-length vest, clipped together slightly below the throat with a round metal clasp, and made a short, plushy fur of a bright orange-red. A skull cap of the same fur covered the crown of his head, allowing to escape below its edging oily strands of hair as dark as his jerkin. Oh, so he's a wet ponytail guy. There was an odd cast to his features, something that hinted of mixed blood, perhaps of the elven kind. Yet his eyes were not green, but dark, and he wore a half-smile as he came up to them with assurance of one certain of welcome. Milo glanced at Ingrid. The elf presented his usual impassive countenance, yet without the use of any recognition spell, Milo knew that the newcomer did not have elf favor. The stranger sketched a gesture of peace, his open palm out. He wore weapons, a blade, which was not quite as long as a fighting sword, nor short as a dagger, but somewhat between the two, and a throwing axe, both sheathed at his belt, coiled on his right hip, showing only when his vest swung open a bit, was something else, a long-lashed whip. "Greetings, warriors." He spoke with an assurance that matched his open approach. "I am Helagret, one who deals in rare beasts." He paused as if awaiting instructions from the three in turn. Nail grunted. His big hand had gone up to stroke Afrita, and there was certainly no welcome in his lowering scowl. Milo tried to sharpen his sense of uneasiness. Was their watcher come at last into the open? He glanced at Ingrid. From a fleeting chance of expression on the elf's face, the swordsman knew that this was not the enemy. The swordsman dropped the last counted piece into the trader's grimy palm. Then he answered, since it would seem the others left reply to him. "Master Helagret, we have no interest in aught here save mounts." "True," the other nodded, "but I have an interest in what your companion has, swordsman." He raised his hand, gauntleted in some glossy leather, to point a forefinger at Afrita. "I am gathering specimens for my lord I forgot about this name. Fonduling. Yeah, Fondu. Of Res. He would have in his outgarden the rarest of beasts already. Now," he waved toward the line of cages, "I have managed to find a griff cat, a prim lizard, even a white sand serpent, warrior." Now he addressed Nail directly. "To my lord, money is nothing. A year ago he found the hidden temple of Tongue. Oh, God. And all its once locked treasures are under his hand. I am empowered to draw upon them to secure any rarity. What say you to a sword of 7 spells, a never-failed shield, a necklet of Lyra gems such as not even the king of the great kingdom can hope to hold up?" Nail's hand swept from cupping Afrita to the haft of his axe. The pseudo-dragon flickered out of sight within the collar of his boarskin cape. "I say, trapper of beasts, shut your mouth lest you find steel renders it unshuttable for all time." There were red sparks in the berserker's deep-set eyes. His own lips pulled back, showing fangs that had given him his war name. Helagret laughed lightly. "Temper your wrath, wereman. I shall not try to wrest your treasure from you, but since this is my mission, there lies no great harm in my asking, does there?" His tone was faintly derisive, suggesting that Nail was too closely akin to those bristled and tusked beasts, those furry, whose furry he could share, to be treated with on the true human level. "If you will not deal with me on one matter, warriors, perhaps we can bargain on another. I must transport my animals to Faraz. Unfortunately, my hired gods indulged too deeply in their wine. 2 harpies is so noted for. They now rest in the stranger's tower, where they have been given a period to reflect upon their sin of indulgence. I have cartmen, but they are no fighters. If your passage is westward, I can pay fighting wages until we reach the castle of my lord. Then he may well be so delighted with what I bring him that he will be more open-handed." He smiled, looking from one to the other. Milo smiled in return. What game the other might be playing, he had no guess. Oh, I do. But no one could possibly be as stupid as this beast tamer presented himself. Though Ingrid had passed the sign that was not their watcher, yet the very way he attempted to force himself upon the company was out of character. We do not ride to Faraz, Milo tried to make his voice guilelessly open as the others. Halagret shrugged. It is a pity, warriors. My lord has had some unusual luck in 2 of his recent quests. It is said that he is preparing for a third. He has been given a certain map, a southward map. I wish him luck in the 3rd time, Milo returned. We go our own way, Master Trainer. As for your guards, there are those in plenty here who need fill their purses and are willing to take sword oath for the road. Yeah, they can't get out of the gas. That's also a thing. So if Milo hadn't gone this way, the wizard's gas would have forced his hand. A pity, Halagret shook his head. It is in my mind we might have dealt well together, swordsman. You may discover that pushing away the open hand of fortune may bring ill in return. Oh, goody, a threat. You threaten, Beast Chaser? Nail took a step forward. Threaten? Why would I threaten? What have you to fear from me? Halagret moved both hands wide apart as if displaying that he was not in the least challenging a short-tempered berserker. What indeed? Ingrid spoke for the first time, man of Hither Hill. For the first time that smile was lost. There was a spark for a second in the darkened eyes, quickly gone. Then Halagret turned, nodded, as one who had solved a problem. I am not ashamed of my blood, elf. Are you of yours? Yet he did not wait for any answer, but turned abruptly and moved away. Yeah, that was a interesting slight. Milo felt a faint warmth in his wrist and looked hurriedly to the bracelet. It was glowing a little, but none of the dice swung. An exclamation from Nail brought his attention elsewhere. Ingrid held out his hand. There was a bright blaze of color, and he was staring hard at the dice, which were a whirl for him. Milo guessed. Every fraction of control he could summon to aid in their spin. The glow flashed off, yet Ingrid continued for a long moment to watch the dice. Then he raised his head. The half-blood did not succeed, insomuch is the wizard right. What was it? Milo was irritated at his own ignorance. It was plain that Ingrid had encountered, or perhaps had all faced, some unknown danger, but the nature of it. He keeps company, Nail had softened his usual heavy growl to a mutter. From under the shadow of his helm he stared across the length of the market. There the circle of flares and lanterns gave a wavering light, perhaps not enough to betray some lurkers. But the burnished shine of Halagret's clothing had caught a gleam. He must have retreated very quickly to reach that distance. He stood before another now, who wore a loose robe that was nearly the same color as the drab shadows. Since the hood of the robe was pulled well forward, he was only half visible to them. He speaks with a druid, Ingrid returned. As to what he tried, he is of the half-blood from the Hither Hills. The cold note of reputation in that was plain enough to hear. He sought to lay upon us a sending, perhaps to bend us to his will, but not even the full blood can work such alone. There must be a uniting of power. Therefore, this Halagret merely furnished a channel through which some other power is meant to flow. He established eye contact, voice contact, then he struck. What power? The druid? Hazarded Milo. Chaos? Slowly Ingrid shook his head. The druid perhaps, but this was no spelling I have ever heard of. He carried on him some talisman which had its own smell, and that was alien. However, once more the elf regarded his wrist and the bracelet on it, and though it was, I could defeat it. Yes, the wizard was right, brothers. There was more animation in his unusually calm voice than Milo had heard before. We must hone and sharpen our minds, even as the dwarf swordsmiths hone and sharpen their best of blades, for it is that power which may be both shield and weapon to us, past our present knowing. Well enough, Nail said, clenching his huge fist. With my hand thus, or with the axe of which the likeness I have won to. Now he raised his fist to strike lightly against his helm with its crowning bore. There are few who dare face me, yet to use the mind so, that will be a new experience. They have gone. Milo had been watching Hallegret and the shadowy figure beyond him. I think it is well we follow their example, and that speedily. Ingrid was already moving toward the horses the trader had loosed with his from his picket lines, stringing halter ropes together. It was apparent that the elf was of a similar mind to the swordsman. And with that, we end Chapter 4. I will be back tomorrow with Chapter 5 of Quag Keep. And I hope you guys are enjoying this. And yes, I'm not necessarily going to be doing this in Monster Hunter all the time. Any place I can find an emote with reading. And there might be some surprises there. We'll go ahead and do it from there. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for listening.